Here's a truth that might sting a little. Most men don't realize that the very attitudes they carry every single day, unconsciously, are the same ones making women lose respect for them. It's not about money, looks, or even charm. It's not. It's about how you carry yourself, the mindset you project, and the signals you send without knowing it. Women don't have to hear you say much. They pick up on your energy, your attitude, and the way you move through life. And if that energy feels weak, needy, or insecure, attraction dies instantly. Now, here's the kicker. A lot of men believe women lose interest because they want too much or are never satisfied. But the truth is often much simpler. Women lose interest when they sense weakness in a man's presence. Weakness here doesn't mean physical strength. It means the way you let your emotions, fears, and insecurities control you. It's the mindset that screams, "I need you more than you need me." That's the killer. Think about it. You could be tall, handsome, and successful. But if your attitude screams desperation, self-doubt, or the need for constant approval, she'll see it right away. On the other hand, a guy with average looks but strong, grounded energy will hold her attention effortlessly. That's how much attitude truly matters. This is what we're tackling today. We're breaking down 7 specific attitudes, the psychological traps, that make you look weak in the eyes of women. Some of these will feel uncomfortably familiar, and that's good, because awareness is the first step to change. Once you recognize these patterns, you can cut them out and rebuild yourself into the kind of man women can't help but respect and feel drawn to. Welcome to the channel, my friend. If you're tired of being overlooked or dismissed, and you want the truth about how women really see men, you're in the right place. Stay with me. This is going to open your eyes in ways most men never hear about. The 7 attitudes that kill respect. We've established the foundation that weakness isn't physical. It's psychological. It's the energy you project when your emotions control you. Now, let's dissect the 7 specific attitudes you must identify and eradicate if you want to be the man women can't help but respect. 1. Needing constant validation. The approval trap. The fastest way a man kills attraction is by making a woman feel like he needs her approval to feel good about himself. This attitude is subtle, but women pick up on it almost instantly, because it forces them into a role they don't want. Your self-esteem manager. This shows up in the way you constantly check in. You're always asking, "Do you like this? Are you sure you're okay with me? Did I do that right? Are you mad at me?" On the surface, it might seem like consideration, but underneath, it communicates deep insecurity. It's the need to repeatedly ask for confirmation that you are still acceptable, still liked, still valuable. Imagine you just told a story at dinner. Instead of sitting back and owning the moment, you immediately look at her for the guaranteed smile, the forced laugh. You're scanning her face, searching for a sign that you performed acceptably. That search, that need, is a massive transfer of power, and she feels it. You're handing her the remote control to your self-worth. When you keep fishing for validation, it tells her you're not confident in yourself, and now you're putting that burden on her. That isn't attractive, it's exhausting. A woman doesn't want to be your therapist or your cheerleader 24/7. She wants a man who already believes in himself, with or without her words of affirmation. Picture this scenario. You notice she's quiet. Maybe she's thinking about a project, or maybe she's just tired. But the insecure man immediately assumes, "She's upset with me. Did I do something wrong?" He starts seeking reassurance, trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist. This communicates that your sense of calm and self-worth depends entirely on her mood. The moment she feels you are that emotionally fragile, she loses respect. She realizes she can't rely on you for emotional stability because your stability relies on her. That's a fundamental role reversal she rejects. A man of grounded strength knows his value. He checks in naturally, not out of desperation. He can read the room, stay grounded, and project calm confidence regardless of what's happening around him. When a woman sees that you're steady, even when she's moody, distant, or testing you, she feels safer and more attracted to you. Your confidence has to come from you, not from her constant reassurance. Build an inner world so rich and stable that her approval is a bonus, not a requirement. 2. Being too agreeable, the shadow man. There's nothing wrong with being kind, respectful, or easy to get along with. But when you slide into the habit of being too agreeable, always saying yes, always going along with what she wants, never expressing your own thoughts, you start to look weak in her eyes. It's the constant, whatever you want, the I don't mind, and nodding along to opinions you secretly disagree with. Why? Because a man who never stands his ground, who never voices his own perspective, shows her he's afraid of conflict and ultimately afraid of losing her approval. This isn't flexibility, it's an erasure of your personality. Think about the decision-making process. She asks where to eat, you say, I don't care. She asks what movie to watch, you say, it's totally up to you. She shares a political opinion you find irrational, and you nod along to keep the peace. Individually, these are small moments. Together, they paint the picture of a man who doesn't have his own voice, his own taste, or his own convictions. At first, women might appreciate flexibility, but very quickly, that feeling flips into something deeply unattractive. She starts to feel like you have no backbone, like you're more interested in avoiding tension than in being authentic. If you can't be honest with her about what you want for dinner, how can she trust you to handle a mortgage decision or a family crisis? She needs to know you have an independent, thinking mind. When you always agree she's not getting a partner, she's getting a shadow. A shadow doesn't provide leadership or intellectual challenge. She may feel comfortable, but comfort without respect is a short road to boredom and disconnection. You are essentially hiding your authentic self, and she can sense that you are prioritizing her immediate emotional state over your own truth. Attraction lives in that balance. Women don't want a man who fights them on everything, but they absolutely don't want a man who agrees with them on everything. A strong man is a partner who can respect her point of view without being afraid to share his own truth. He can say, I see your point, but here's why I have a different take. That contrast, that self-respect, is what creates dynamic attraction. If you always agree just to keep the peace, she doesn't see a partner, she sees a follower. 3. Oversharing your insecurities, emotional dumping. Every man has insecurities. That's human. But what separates strong men from weak men is how they deal with them. When you constantly unload your doubts, fears, and insecurities on a woman, it doesn't create closeness, it creates distance. Many men think being brutally open about every single insecurity will make a woman feel connected. In reality, it often makes her feel like she has to carry your emotional weight, and that kills attraction fast. This looks like using every intimate moment as a chance to confess how you feel not good enough, how you're afraid she'll leave, or how you struggle with comparison. Consider the timing. A healthy moment of connection should involve mutual sharing and appreciation. But when you hijack the moment with a sudden flood of self-doubt, you force her into a caretaking role. It becomes a one-way transaction where you are constantly seeking reassurance, turning the relationship into an exhausting emotional maintenance job for her. Women are naturally drawn to stability in a man. If you're constantly collapsing, she starts to lose faith in your strength. She might feel sympathy at first, but over time, sympathy turns into frustration. Instead of being her partner, you've become her patient. Vulnerability without boundaries is what turns women off. When it feels like you're dumping every self-doubt onto her shoulders, she doesn't see a man opening up. She sees a man collapsing. You make her responsible for your internal state. And she quickly realizes that she cannot lean on you, because you are already leaning on her far too heavily. Your lack of internal resilience is transferred directly onto her emotional burden, and that pressure will inevitably push her away. You must remember, she doesn't want to be your mother or your therapist. Be vulnerable, but be discerning. Sharing your story, opening up about your journey, and letting her see that you're human can build intimacy. But you must get your core confidence from yourself. A strong man seeks solutions and processes his major fears internally or with a mentor. He doesn't use his partner as his constant emotional regulator. She doesn't admire the man who needs to be told every 5 minutes that he's doing okay. She admires the man who already knows it. 4. Avoiding responsibility. The blame game. One of the clearest attitudes that makes a man look weak is when he avoids responsibility. This isn't just about paying bills. It's about responsibility in every sense: your choices, your emotions, your actions, and your failures. When a man refuses to own up and instead blames circumstances, other people, or even the woman he's with, it signals immaturity. Women pay close attention to how a man handles setbacks. Do you take accountability and look for solutions? Or do you immediately look for someone to blame? This avoidance shows up in small ways too. You forget an important date, and instead of simply apologizing and taking the hit, you come up with a lengthy excuse about traffic or a boss. Or you promise to finish a task, fail to do so, and then downplay its importance. These are micro signals of unreliability. This also applies critically to emotional responsibility. A weak man blames his moods on his partner. He says things like, "I wouldn't be upset if you didn't act this way," or, "You're the reason I feel like this." What that tells her is simple: you don't own your emotions, and you're putting the burden of your inner world on her shoulders. If every time life gets tough, you point fingers, make excuses, or act like a victim, you're telling her you don't have control over yourself. And if you don't have control over yourself, how can she trust you to handle life with her? Nothing drains respect faster than immaturity. When you dodge accountability, she starts to see you as unreliable, and once that image sets in, it's hard to come back from it. The emotional blame game is fundamentally unmasculine. She sees a child who can't process his own feelings, not a man who can anchor the relationship. This burden forces her to walk on eggshells, constantly worried that her actions will trigger your volatile emotional state. Women admire men who step up. A strong man says, "Yes, I made that mistake, but here's how I'm fixing it," and earns respect. A man who says, "The world is against me," loses it. Own your outcomes. Own your emotions. When you take accountability, you show her that you are the stable pillar in her life. We've dissected the 4 internal flaws that kill respect. If this has forced you to look in the mirror, even uncomfortably, then this message is working. The only way to stop these patterns is through awareness and action. If you need the tools to build your character, I'm giving you 2 seconds to decide. Hit the like button now to signal that you value self-improvement, and subscribe to the Stoic Manhood Guide. Don't let yourself drift back into weakness. Let's tackle the last 3 essential attitudes. 5. Chasing too hard. The desperation signal. Nothing makes a man look weaker in a woman's eyes than chasing her like she's the prize, and you're the one lucky to even be in the game. When your entire energy is centered on proving your value to her, you flip the dynamic upside down, and attraction starts to die. Women respect pursuit, but they don't respect chasing. Pursuit is when you show genuine interest, make your move, and express confidence in what you want. Chasing, on the other hand, is when you keep pushing even when she's not giving much back. It's when you text constantly, try to force her attention, rearrange your life to fit her schedule, or bend over backward just to impress her. Picture the dynamic: a guy meets a woman he likes. She's initially curious, but instead of letting the connection grow naturally, he floods her phone with messages, doubles his compliments, and makes it clear he's available at any time. He's putting her on a pedestal so high that he forgets his own worth. The more you chase, the more she feels you don't value yourself. She doesn't feel flattered, she feels smothered, and worse, she senses desperation. Women don't want to feel like they're your only option. They want a man who shows interest, but also has his own life, his own standards, and his own boundaries. The irony is that men who chase often think they're showing effort. But effort isn't attractive when it's unbalanced. Real effort is when you show up as a man of value, not when you throw away your value to win her over. When you chase too hard, you're telling her she's more valuable than you. And the moment she believes that, she loses respect. When you approach her with interest while still holding your ground, you're telling her, "I want you, but I don't need you." That's power. That's what keeps her attention. If she's interested, she'll meet you halfway. If she's not, you walk away with your dignity intact. That's strength. 6. Avoiding difficult conversations. The fear of conflict, a weak attitude that women instantly notice, is the unwillingness to face difficult conversations. When a man dodges conflict, refuses to address tension, or stays silent to keep the peace, he thinks he's protecting the relationship. But from her perspective, he's showing fear, avoidance, and a lack of leadership. If you go quiet every time she's upset, if you sweep issues under the rug, or if you shut down instead of talking things through, she doesn't see calmness, she sees weakness. Avoiding tough talks communicates something deeper. You're scared of losing her approval. You'd rather stay silent so she won't be upset with you. Think about a boundary violation. She consistently arrives late to your plans. A weak man says nothing, hoping the behavior will change. A strong man is willing to say, "Why need to talk about this?" Even when it feels uncomfortable. He's willing to stand up for the relationship standards. Women test a man's strength not just when things are fun, but when things get uncomfortable. When you avoid those conversations, the problems don't go away. They build up as resentment. She loses respect because you didn't step up when it mattered most. You've taught her that the relationship lacks the structural integrity to handle real pressure. Furthermore, when you avoid difficult conversations, you deny yourself the chance to set boundaries. If you stay silent every time your limits are tested, she sees you as passive. That passivity means she cannot trust you to protect her, your future, or even yourself. A strong man doesn't look for fights, but he doesn't run from them either. He's willing to say, "We need to talk about this," even when it feels uncomfortable. He can listen without getting defensive, and he can speak his truth without being cruel. Women respect a man who can handle emotional tension with calmness and honesty because it makes her feel safe and stable. When you can calmly say, "That doesn't work for me," you show her that your respect for yourself is stronger than your fear of upsetting her. 7. Lacking direction in life. The drifting man, one of the most unattractive attitudes a man can carry, is drifting through life without purpose. You don't need to have every detail figured out, but when it looks like you have no goals, no ambition, and no sense of direction, women lose respect fast. A man without direction often hides behind excuses. "I'll figure it out eventually," or "I'm just waiting for the right opportunity." What women see is procrastination, fear, and a lack of drive. This looks like endless hours playing video games or watching TV with no focused effort on a career, skill, or business. This attitude also makes you cling harder to relationships. If a woman becomes the center of your world because you have nothing else going on, she will feel suffocated. Women don't want to be your entire purpose. They want to join you on your path. Women are naturally drawn to men who lead, not just in relationships, but in life. When a woman sees you stuck, going through the motions with no plan, it doesn't inspire trust. It makes her wonder if she's with someone who can actually build, protect, and lead. If you're not leading yourself, how can she trust you to lead a partnership? Lacking direction often leads to neediness. You need her validation because you aren't getting internal fulfillment from your work or goals. You need her company because you have nothing better to do. This pressure kills the desire she once had for you. Stop drifting. Stop waiting. Find your path, commit to it, and move with purpose. Progress, not perfection, is what inspires respect. When you take control of your career, your health, your discipline, and your goals, you send a clear signal that you value yourself. And when you value yourself, others, including women, can't help but value you too. Direction is non-negotiable if you want to stop looking weak in her eyes. You've just completed the breakdown of the 7 attitudes that instantly make you look weak. If you were truly honest with yourself, you recognize some uncomfortable patterns. Here is the crucial takeaway: women don't lose respect for men because of random chance. They lose respect when they sense weakness. Weakness in your attitude, your energy, and the way you choose to carry yourself. And we've just given you the clear blueprint for exactly where that weakness manifests. Remember this hard truth: Women won't always tell you this directly. They won't say, "You're too agreeable," or "You're chasing too hard." Instead, they'll just lose interest, pull away, and stop taking you seriously. If you're not paying attention, you'll keep repeating the same self-sabotaging patterns. The good news is this: every single one of these attitudes can be changed. You don't have to be stuck in weakness. You can start building confidence, direction, accountability, and strength right now. Women respect men who lead themselves first. They are drawn to men who don't need constant validation, who can handle conflict, and who live with purpose. That's the type of man who doesn't have to chase respect. It's given to him naturally. So, here's my challenge for you. Look back over these 7 attitudes and ask yourself honestly, which ones am I truly guilty of? It might be uncomfortable, but that's where the growth starts. Hit the like button now if this video gave you clarity. Share it with another man who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe to the Stoic Manhood Guide. Strength is built, not gifted. Are you ready to build it?